So it's quite likely that China is sending us a message that continuously we cannot rely on China to improve the relationship on a regular, stable basis. China's long-term goal vis-a-vis India is to undertake coercion. It wants to showcase its superiority in the region and reassert its claim in Arunachal Pradesh. So the give and take sort of will continue, and it won't be a one directional kind of progress in India China relations. It's a difficult relation to manage, and such kind of incidents sort of will keep on happening. The timing could be anything. Hundreds of travelers from Arunachal Pradesh kind of travel regularly. I'm not sure how many transit via mainland China, but they could have resolved it within a short period of time. This was a transit journey. The person wasn't visiting China, so they could have allowed the person to go. The person also had a visa to travel. So China continues to assert its claim over Arunachal Pradesh, and it will continue to do so. And in a way, China is telling us that we'll have to manage the difficulties and perhaps give in more in the bargain than what we are willing to do at this point of time. So I believe this is a part of Chinese coercion strategy vis-a-vis India. So as you know, the relations have been sort of normalizing and normalizing also with limitations since last year in October, step by step. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra was restored, and bilateral academic exchanges in a limited way have begun, and sort of think tank forums have also started. We have seen that the government has responded in a very strong way to this action by China by saying that such actions by China challenge India's sovereignty, and the India's relations and approach towards China is subject to China also recognizing and accepting and respecting India's sovereignty as it stands. The border negotiation is a different matter, but it's never going to be a territorial matter. So I expect Indian government to take a hard stand. But right now, in my opinion, India is not left with many choices. Our imports from China have not sort of reduced. What has reduced is our exports to China, and we need China's partnership, at least as what I understand from government's role or government's position in balancing the threats that are coming to us in the trade from Donald Trump. So we'll have to see how the government responds to this, but I believe it will have some ramifications, and we also have some more events planned in the coming months. What I read from the media to celebrate the next landmark in India-China relations, the 75th anniversary. So some of those may be pulled back potentially. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a unsettled border, and China continues to not recognize the McMahon line as being legitimate, the 1914, the McMahon line. China says it was signed by the imperial authority, which was not Chinese, and China treats this as one of the unequal treaties and doesn't want to recognize it and wants to renegotiate all of the treaty as well. There are two elements to it that are ongoing there. One is, of course, the Tawang monastery, where one of the lamas, Panchen lamas, was born, and China's assertion in Tibet with the Tibetan population over assertion and control over the Tibetan Buddhism. For that, China's claim over Arunachal Pradesh is, I think, primarily over Tawang, but also there's a lot of competitive dam building going on uh, in Arunachal Pradesh and in China right now. China is building world's largest hydropower project in Tibet, pretty close to the Indian border, and India is balancing that the threat of water and floods by building its own dam in Arunachal Pradesh. So it has also meant that India's infrastructure in the region has upgraded. India's military movement and stationing of troops has become more or less permanent and stronger. So that is another way of China's asserting its superiority. Maybe it's China's way of telling India to settle the border disputes. But as you saw from a recent interview by the Chinese ambassador, which is similar to the statement made by Xi Jinping when speaking to Prime Minister Modi, that India should compartmentalize issues when dealing with China. We should not let border affect our bilateral relations. So China's perception is to separate border and trade and economic and social relations, whereas India has maintained and will continue to say that such form of separation is not possible, but also not practical, And it's not also viable to think of border as a separate issue and social and political relations as a separate issue in the same way. India has continued to tell Pakistan that you cannot have sports while terrorism continues. So, China's assertion is with regard to its coercive strategy of telling India that it is a superior power and it will continue to. Uh, uh, it is trying to establish a Asia centered around China, and getting India to behave in that way is important for China to establish Asia of its dreams, and that is why China is coercing against India. And what it is doing vis-a-vis the Indian passports for the people of Arunachal Pradesh, it is all part of that strategy, I believe. First of all, it should never have happened. Second, it should have been sorted much faster over a couple of phone calls and something of that sort. So, for China to say that nothing happened is also kind of sidestepping from their responsibility of denying their own responsibility in the process. So, I think someone made a mistake. It's also a possibility on their side, but also it's part of a possibility that China doesn't want to take a blame of it at the national level and wants to blame on a official or a visa officer at the airport for this as a as a small mistake, and let's get over it. But there's a message in that as well, that China continues to challenge India's sovereignty in Arunachal Pradesh. So they will try to brush it off as a small episode and nothing that should matter. But again, it continues as a message to India that China's assertive claims over Arunachal Pradesh are far from over. So we cannot really rely on China as a partner or a long-term collaborator. Thank you for inviting me.